Alright, I've changed the trains back to BR423s. This wandering villagers always spawn. It is so expensive, these trades. Okay. Hey everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Code with me. In this series, I'm going to be showing you a bunch of updates for the new 4.0 release, and hopefully you'll be excited about it. So today, the thing that I want to show you is signals. So in my hand, I have a pink signal connector, a light blue signal connector, and a light blue signal remover. This is just to show that the new signaling lines, like the signal blocks, have been implemented again. That was in the existing version of the mod, but I haven't put it in as of the last video in the 4.0 update. So right now, I'm showing that to you. It all works the same. You see, putting in the signals and removing the signals works the same way. Alright, so the main thing that changed is how these signals work. So let me fly over to where I built a whole signal section and show you how that changes, or how that behavior has changed. So at the end of my track right here, I put a signal here because this section is single tracked, the last platform. So this last platform, the train will come in and then reverse back out to the second track. So you see this train is coming in because that train has just come out. So the main difference is when a train waits here for the signal and that train over there has left, this train is not going to proceed until there's enough space for this entire train to exit this signal block. Okay, so that's a big difference from before. Before, as long as the whole signal block is cleared out, the train will immediately enter. Like, watch this train leave right now. This train should have entered by now. But instead, this train is going to wait until there's enough clearance after the signal block before it passes the line, passes the signal block. So, just to explain my point a little bit more, if I go to right about this point right here, you're going to see that that train has to pass this point before this train enters the signal block. So this behavior is what I just described earlier. Watch this train. When it passes this point, it means this train has enough space to exit the whole signal block now. Yeah. And same thing with that train when it comes out. So the reason for that is to be more realistic with real-life signal systems. You don't want a train to go into a signal block and just get stuck there, potentially locking it into a gridlock. So this is useful for single tracking. I know people like Nemo have suggested the signaling change for a while, and I finally have time to update it and to think of a new logic, a new way to code it. So yeah, let me try showing you what single tracking will look like and how signals can be used to improve that. Alright, so let's take a look at the system I have right here. I've got a siding, and then I've got a rail out of the siding, and then I've got a station here, single track section here, to a second station here, and then a single track section to a third section. So the way I'm going to signal this is pretty simple. Just connect all of these single track sections here, and I'm also going to connect these branches as well, just so that the train won't wait literally right here and have the second train just clip through as it's moving out. And this part also, I'm going to do a similar signaling system here. Just one signal color is going to be enough because we're not going to have these signal sections overlap anyway, so we don't need to define different colors here. And then finally, I would also want this section towards the siding to have a signal as well, so that trains won't jam on this single section. Okay, so now setting everything up on the dashboard. Oh, it looks like This siding can only fit one mini train. Is it really? Can I not fit any small trains on here? I don't just want a mini. What about M train mini? Yeah, there's like no space to fit anything else. What's the shortest train we have on here? Will these New York subways be shorter that I can fit two? No? Alright. Oh, 423 might be longer. Okay. Why isn't it showing up? What's going on? That was weird. I had to restart my game for some reason. I have to investigate that later. Is this train gonna move? Okay. Alright. So, this train's gonna be here. And then, after this train leaves, that next train will come. So let me wait a little longer so that these trains have saturated the system first. Okay, so we've got a couple of problems here. The first problem, as we saw earlier, when I first create a siding and then I try to select a train, the train just doesn't show up until I restart the game. So that's one issue. The second issue is that it seems like even after the train leaves this platform, the next train doesn't come in. So I think it might be the signal colors being the same, even though they're technically not connected, it's still affecting it. So that's my guess. So what I'm gonna do is try to remove this. So that immediately comes in. But it still stops here. So let me try changing this one instead of light blue to another color, like pink. Okay, see if that fixes the issue, because if that does, then the issue is because it's detecting the same signal color even though they're separate blocks. So the block detection code has some issues. So, oh, I guess this train isn't gonna leave until that one comes back, huh? Okay, so we've got to wait for this train to get back, and we'll see if this one goes. And that one pulls in as well. So this one will come in here. And this one shouldn't go yet because if this is all one connected signal block, this part isn't clear. So let's wait for this one to go. And is this one gonna go? Yeah, now it is. Okay, now that one's gone. This one's still not going? Okay, so that might not be the issue then. It might not be the case that it's the same color. It is probably because this is too short, maybe? Let me try it with a shorter train, see if that has the same issue. So like 2 minecarts, for example. Let me refresh that. Yeah, minecarts aren't rendering properly yet, so they're just gonna be showing as bogies like that. Okay, so technically there is enough space up here for the 2 minecarts to fit. So let's wait for this to go past this platform first. Okay, so that one has started from the schedule, but it's still waiting here. And when is this gonna go? I don't know. How long is that gonna wait there for? Okay, so it has to do with how much the train looks ahead. And it's not detecting this part as cleared. Which is weird, because there's no signal right here. And there's enough space for the minecart to fit. So I don't know what's going on with that. Is it checking 2 sections maybe? So if I remove this one, will that come? Nope. Well, this one has totally exited the blue now. That's really weird. Is it because at the siding it won't detect? I'm trying to diagnose the issue here. Oh, it did go. After I removed this signal, the second train came in. And that train left. And this train came in. And it's gonna stop here. Is that one gonna come now? I think it's looking ahead on too many rail sections. That's my guess. It's a good thing we're doing testing now. We don't want to be releasing this with bugs like this. Okay, so the chicken's on this train. Is that one ever gonna come in? I don't know why it's looking ahead on so many rails though. Okay, so this train has left. This train should be cleared to go. And maybe this one has to enter this pink part first. Okay, so now it's in the pink part. Is this one cleared to go yet? Okay, that one's cleared to go. And is this one cleared to come in here? Nope. Okay, that's really weird. I don't get it. Oh, there's two trains waiting here now? What's going on with this? Okay, let me just check my code for the train look ahead stuff. Okay, so we're in the transport simulation core project, and this is the vehicle class. And I'm going to go to the rail blocked code. So I put some comments here. This method right here is called by other parts of the code. And it checks if the rails ahead are clear up to a certain point. So we have the current rail progress, the start of the rail progress that we want to check, and the distance that we want to check. And if that's clear of any trains or any signals, then the train can proceed. And then this method down here is only called by this part up here. So it has one usage. And this method will check if there's a signal block, check the path after the signal block is clear. If so, reserve the signal block. So we want to check that after the whole signal block is clear. The section after the signal block is clear as well, so the train can fit in there. And then if all that is true, then reserve the signal block. So we don't want to hold the signal block open so that, or like reserve the signal block so that other trains can't enter, even if they can. Okay, so yeah, we do a block distance check, which is the same as up here, which will check if the vehicle total length can fit in there. Which makes me think that this check distance is modified. Yeah, look. It has that extra stopping space added to it. Okay, that's going to be an issue because we don't want that extra stopping space to be appended to it. Well, maybe I just found the issue right there. That's my guess, at least. It's something to do with this stopping space padding. Oh, actually, you know what? That's a good point as well. We don't want the train to enter the section if the whole train can't fit in there, plus the stopping distance on top of that. Because we don't want the train to be too close to the signal, the next signal block. This is so complicated. Okay, I think I'm understanding this a little more. So, because those blue tracks that I placed down, the blue signal blocks, they technically weren't connected. But the minecarts themselves, adding with this stopping space, will be too much for each platform to hold. So it keeps trying to look ahead and ahead and ahead. And they're all blocked. So that's why it doesn't proceed. Okay, so somehow we need to get rid of this stopping space. So for the sake of testing, I just kind of want to comment this out to see if that makes a difference. Okay, so I put time 0 here, meaning that I'm not going to check for the stopping distance at all. Where's this being used? Okay, just in this part. Okay, so if I launch the game like this, the trains should still stop behind each other without a buffer space. Okay, I'm back in my world, and the train comes. I don't know if that's because of that change though, we have to double check. Oh, it is! See? The minecarts have no extra stopping space, so they're just gonna keep coming in. And so these ones are stopping at the station now. And that one just went off into the distance. Okay, so let's watch that train. Okay. I guess I can change it back to BR423s just so it's easier to see. So let me click on the siding. Yeah, let's change it to actual trains. And we gotta refresh this again. I'm gonna leave this signal block disconnected just so that we can get an idea of how the trains are gonna behave. So I'm gonna let the trains run through the system a little bit as well. Alright, I think I've got a pretty good demonstration going on here right now. So just watch the trains carefully. And right now the trains are just waiting for each other to go. On the right, you see there's a train on the outbound platform, and the inbound platform at the bottom is empty. So now the outbound train's leaving at the top right. So the top right train just left the platform. And the top left train is still waiting for the signal. Okay. That train should be moving any minute now because that top right train has left. Let's see. Okay, now the bottom right train has come in, and this train is now going to that new station. So notice now the whole signal block is technically empty, but no one's moving, because if the train on the left starts moving, it's going to block up the signal because it has nowhere to go, because the train on the right is still present. So instead, the train on the right is now moving because the train on the right has space to go in at the bottom left. Notice how the train on the top left still has nowhere to go. So it's still waiting there until now the top right train has left. Okay, now that the top right train has left, the top left train can go in now, go in the signal block. Now, I have no idea why it's still not moving. Like, why this train isn't just moving into the signal block right now. I don't know what it's waiting for just now. Maybe it's like a little bit of rounding issues as well. So see. Yeah, maybe it's like too close to the signal in front that there's some rounding issues going on. So maybe I changed this to something a tiny bit shorter so that it's just so that we don't have any rounding errors. But that also needs to be fixed at some point. Like, let me put the signal back so that we can see the demonstration again. Oh, I think I know why. It's because the train needs time to close the doors. That's probably it. Because remember, at a signal block, this is in the existing versions of the game as well. So, at a signal block, when a train is blocked in front, the doors aren't going to close so that people can still get on and off the train while the train is blocked. And there's also a 2-second cooldown that I coded in. When a signal block clears up, the train will wait 2 more seconds until it moves on. So that's why, yeah, the train needs time to close the doors, and also the train has a 2-second cooldown. So once the train leaves that signal block, it's not immediately gonna move because, see, the top left train now is closing its doors, waiting the 2 seconds, and then it should be on its way. I think that's the issue, at least. Why isn't it moving now, though? Maybe it's not that. Never mind. Ignore what I just said. It's weird because it seems like it's waiting for that to clear up before this enters. Yeah, I don't know what the deal is with that. What if I made the dwell time shorter so that we can see what's going on? I don't know. Maybe it's also waiting for half the dwell time to go past first. I'm not sure. It would be helpful if I actually coded in the door movement so that we can see what's going on with that. That's probably not it, though. So after that train goes over here, that train still hasn't moved. Why, though? Will this train not move as well? I don't understand what's going on here. Also, you can probably see that the render distance is not great, like those tracks aren't loading. Same as over there, but yeah, that has yet to be fixed. And why isn't this train moving now? Okay, it is moving. It's like it has to wait for that other train to leave here first. Why is that train rendering like that? So many things to fix. It's like the more I play, the more I see there's issues, and the more things I have to fix. That's how it is with coding usually. It's just one thing after another to fix. But at least, like even with the delays and stuff, at least trains won't gridlock with this single track setup. So that is the main goal of all this signaling stuff. So that is at least a good thing. Yeah. trains won't just randomly enter signal blocks. I think it might be easier as well to make the single track sections shorter so that we can actually see trains waiting behind a node and not at a platform. Let me try something interesting. So instead of a station here, let me just put rails. So this is like a switchover. And then let me refresh the path. Just make sure, yeah, path generation complete. Alright. Okay, now we wait for the trains to go through the system. Okay, so I'm noticing that the trains are still... they're still occupying the space. Well, it might also have to do with both directions are taking the same crossover, which is not gonna work. So let me do one-way tracks just to specify that. Oops. Alright, wait and see again. Okay, this train is still not entering this part, even though this is cleared already. So I do think... okay, now it goes. That's weird. So I do think it's detecting too much in front. Alright, not just the stopping space, but it's also detecting more stuff than it needs to. So this train is not going to enter this section until that train has come back. I think there's only one train in this whole part, right? Yeah. There's only one train in this whole part. Oops, I just threw away my rail connector. Alright, let's look at the code again. I do think the trains are detecting too far in advance, so that they're thinking that it's blocked when it's not. Alright, so... should we implement the stopping space as well? For signals, I think it makes sense to keep the same behavior. Yeah. Okay, I've been thinking about this some more. I think there's a couple of things I have to change. So, when we are checking for a blocked signal in front, we would want to do that without the stopping space. So I think we need to do a check, something like this, here first. So instead of check rail progress end, we just want this. Like that, yeah. So if the start, actually not greater than, is less than, so the path start data is less than the check rail progress plus check distance, and the signal is blocked, then return this. And this probably... should this be rail progress? Should it? Oh. It should be check rail progress, yeah? Returns the distance until the rail is blocked. Yeah. I think it should be check rail progress here. Because the way this method is called, I think... Like for example, when the train is waiting at a platform that it needs to reverse from, the actual rail progress that it's checking is the one after it reverses. Anyway, yeah, so the second thing that I thought about we might have to change is this cooldown thing. Okay, so right now, maybe not. Right now my code has this cooldown field where every time let's see, every time we detect that there's something blocked in front of us, we have a stopping cooldown which prevents it from checking for more stopping points. So it's gonna set this to 1000 and it's gonna persist the old stopping point until this cooldown runs out. So where do we minus... Yeah, we decrement the stopping cooldown right here. So now that I'm thinking about it, maybe that doesn't have that much of an impact on the logic. But I think what we changed down here might be good enough. I don't know, I still feel like we're gonna get the same issue as before. I'm not sure. Let's just try it. I have a feeling that nothing much is gonna change from the existing behavior. So don't get your hopes up. Or don't get my hopes up. Okay, so let's watch the train. There should be no train here right now, I think. Oh, this train did leave. Alright. Is this train gonna come in? Nope. Alright, so it's still the same issue. Yeah? This train should be able to go back to the depot. Theoretically. Why isn't this going back? Okay, now it's going back. I don't think it's the dwell time. Ah, so confused. This train gonna go? Okay, this train's going. There's no train here, yeah? Alright, I'm just gonna go back here. Oh, something else that I was gonna change is the... What was it? The render distance that we're updating. Because it's too little. Right now, 64 blocks. I'm thinking of 16 chunks. Yeah, I want the update radius to be 16 chunks instead of 64. So 16 times 16 is 256, I think. Alright, what's wrong with our code? Please tell me in the comments. I'm just kidding. I think I might have an idea. So when we call this method, we are checking that the part ahead is clear. But when we do that, we inevitably check the next signal. And when we check the next signal, we think that we recursively check that whole signal as well, and the space in front of that. So we shouldn't be doing that. But, now that I think about it, that doesn't make sense because there is enough space ahead in the first place. Okay, never mind. Never mind what I just said. Alright, so I took a few hours to take a look at the code because it was, I don't know, I just got stuck on it for a long time. But I think I am figuring it out. So let me show you what I changed. So first of all, I'm in the Rail class. This is where I'm storing signals, by the way. It's not a separate class called signal blocks. I am storing the signals directly onto the rail. So how this works is I have two maps that store the blocked vehicle IDs. So the map corresponds to the color of the signal with the vehicle IDs. So we've got two maps, one for the currently blocked and one for the stuff blocked in the previous tick. So the reason I'm doing this is so that when you, for like race conditions, so like because the vehicles are simulated one after the other, if it's out of order, there could be some problems with, yeah, like, let's say you have two vehicles A and B, and then you iterate through them with the game logic, and when you're iterating through vehicle A, let's say vehicle B is already in the signal block, vehicle B wouldn't have written its position to the map yet. So when you simulate vehicle A, it thinks that the signal block is empty. And then vehicle B gets simulated, and then when that happens, vehicle B thinks, oh, vehicle A is in the signal block, but vehicle B got there in the first place. So that's why we have two maps, one for vehicle IDs and one for vehicle IDs old. And we also have a tick method to swap between the two every tick. This is just called in the simulator, the main simulator class in the main loop. So that has always been there, but I changed these to a map. Earlier it was just a list, but I changed that to a map. And then I simplified the code a little bit. So this method gets called from path data. So when we want to check if a path section is blocked, we just call is blocked on the rail. So what I changed is the reserving method. So for each color, we are going to iterate through all the rails that are connected to each other, all the colors that are connected to each other, and reserve that rail section. Because we have blocked vehicle ID maps on each rail, we need to write to all of them once we block one of them, because all the same color is connected in a signal block. So this reserve rail is a recursive method, which means it calls itself. So once we reserve a rail, we propagate the signal color. If the connected rails to the current rail is also the same signal color, then we will reserve it as well. That's what this logic is. We also have a set to kind of keep record of what rails we visited, so that we don't go in an infinite loop trying to reserve rails back and forth. That's what that is. Okay, so this is the rail reserving logic. I also put a flag here if we want to reserve the rail, or if we just want to check if a signal is blocked. So there's this option here as well, which is all the way here, reserve rail, this parameter, which is being called here. So a lot of the changes are here as well. Let's see. So what I changed here is this rail block distance method. I added a parameter called second pass. So when we call this method normally, such as up here in the train vehicle movement logic, you notice second pass, it's false being passed in. So the first time we call this method, the second pass field will be false. And so when we call check and block signal, this will be false. And so it will attempt to check all the rails the rails in front of the signal to see if that section is clear as well. But when we iterate through this again, when we call this a second time inside this, we pass in true for the second pass. So when we encounter another signal again, we are just going to directly call this is signal blocked and then return that. I guess I can make it a little more clear if I just do that and close all of this in here and do else. Yeah. Okay, so hopefully that makes sense, but if it doesn't, that's okay as well. I know this is a bit complicated. I got stuck in it for a few hours, but I went to eat lunch and did other stuff. Sometimes walking away from the code is like the best way to clear your mind again and look at it with a fresh pair of eyes. Oh, one other thing I changed is when we check for rail blocked, we want to make sure that it's also within bounds of the vehicle length. We don't want to check too much. If we check too much, there's stuff blocked a bit farther than the vehicle length. We don't care about whether that part is blocked. We just care about whether the train can fit in the space after a signal. Okay, now I'm going to run Minecraft and show you what that looks like. Alright, back in our world, and I've also increased the render distance, so it's a little bit more laggy, but you can also see more, which is good. So yeah, watch the trains closely. So look over to the right, the trains, I put a bypass there instead of platforms, and so the trains should just not run into each other. So I'm gonna leave this running for a little bit. The train on the left is a bit glitchy. Like when trains re-enter the siding, they do kind of a weird stacking at the front of the siding. But ignore that for a second. Just focus on the train movement for now. I guess it's a bit hard to tell like this because there aren't enough trains to see. Okay, so look here now. This train is about to leave the siding because it's waiting at this node. And so, yeah, once that's cleared, this one will go. Before that train left this platform, yeah, see, this train is getting ready to go as well, but this whole pink section is clear right now, but this train hasn't left, so that's why this one's still waiting. Whereas the siding is like the home siding of the train, that isn't considered a signal block. That's why this train can freely enter just to go back to the siding. But this one was waiting for that train here to leave. So yeah. Basically it's the same thing I've been saying throughout this whole video, is that trains won't enter a signal block until there's enough space for it to leave afterwards. See, the train slowed down because it anticipated the signal in front to be occupied. Okay, let me change this back, instead of a bypass, back to platforms. And I'll set up my routes and stuff again. Alright, I've regenerated everything. Hopefully we can get a better view this time. I'm gonna fly over here so that we also get a full view again. Actually, I'll wait till the trains cycle through everything first. Alright, I've changed the trains back to BR423s. This wandering villagers always spawn. It is so expensive, these trades. Okay, let me show you what the signals look like again. So we have a signal block here, and then we have two platforms. We have another signal block here because we don't want multiple trains on the single track section. We have another station, and then one more single track section and a terminal platform at the very end. So now that the trains are kind of cycled through the system, I'm gonna stand over here and watch the trains and kind of explain how that all works. Okay, can we see everything? Let me fly closer to this side. Alright. So notice how the trains move. So this train is leaving the single track section. The train on the left right here is not going to move until this train has left this platform, because this train needs to make sure there's enough space to stay after entering the signal block. So after it enters the signal block, this is a valid space for the train to stay. So that's why this train waited for this train to leave first. Okay, and this train is ready to depart. Yeah? Okay, we have that weird glitch where the train just teleports to this node, but we'll fix that another time. There should be a train coming out to here soon. Why are the trains not moving? Okay, I don't know why the trains didn't move earlier, but now they're moving. So when this train leaves, this train is going to move once this platform is clear. Because even though this signal section was clear, it needs to wait for an available space after the signal block to wait. So same thing for this train. And then the same thing will happen here, as I explained earlier. This train on the left will wait until the train on the right has pulled out of the station, because the train on the left needs this empty space to go to after this whole signal block. And then this train's not going to move until that train left, because this signal, even though it's clear, it had to wait for this space to be open. So I know I explained this a lot of times already, but that's how the new signaling system is going to work. And it's going to benefit single tracking, as you can see here, so that trains won't gridlock. Like when trains enter this signal block when there's no space in front. Yeah, that will cause a gridlock with single track systems. Let me show you another example that I showed in the beginning of the video, but in case you skipped over that part, I'm going to fly over there and show you again. I didn't mean to turn on my F3. Okay, so you see the trains are waiting here, which is waiting for this pink section over here. So when this train leaves the pink section, this one is not immediately going to enter this signal section, because it needs to wait for enough space on this track before that train goes in. So now the next train is pulling in, and I'm going to stand at the back of this train just to watch the next train pull out. So the next train will have to get past this point in order for this train to enter the signal block. So this part is not signal. That's why this train just comes right in here, 8 blocks behind this train. Yeah, so watch this train as it comes out. Right now, after that last car passed that point, that train is now entering that signal block. Alright, that's been a lot of work, and I spent hours and hours doing this. So thank you again to all supporters, whether on Patreon or on Discord. There's an option to subscribe to the server. If you haven't already, please consider doing that. And thank you for everyone for your support. I hope to have builds available soon for people to test. That's another thing that I've been working on, is the build pipeline for the mod. So in the next few days, just look out on GitHub. There will be builds available that people can download on the GitHub Actions, and you can try it out for yourself for 1.20.2 Fabric and Forge. The other versions, there might be some issues that I haven't looked into yet, but for 1.20.2, that's what I've been testing on, so I'm more confident with that one. Do note that there are a lot of unimplemented features, and so you can just mainly focus on the things I've demoed in these videos. And thank you everyone for watching. Make sure to like the video. Check out the other videos in the playlist if you haven't already to see other features that are new in 4.0. Make sure to subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye!